Today we are going to be going through the statistics dashboard on Distrokid. Now, one thing I should mention is this won't be available to you if you have the fast plan on Distrokid, which is the musician plan. It only becomes available if you have the musician plus plan or the ultimate plan, and you can see this right here. So daily streaming stats are not available for this fast plan, and this is what I started with, so you don't need to even stress about it if you don't have this. However, you can continue watching if you want to see what it would look like when you move up to the musician plus plan. Now let's go to the stats dashboard. When you come onto the stats dashboard, the first thing you see are these two drop down menus. This one is for the platforms whose stats are shared through Distrokid. The first is Spotify, or one of them is Spotify. We have Apple Music, and then we have iTunes plus Amazon, and these are basically sales. The next drop down menu here is you can filter either by all albums and tracks, or you select an album whose stats you want to see, and then you can also select a single track that you want to look at the stats for, and then you click display, and your selected options here are what will be displayed. So we are going to focus on Spotify, but you can do the same for any of these, Apple Music or iTunes. So under Spotify, you can see we have a quick snapshot of what our year has looked like so far in terms of streams. Over the last year, we have had over 4,000 streams, 4,200 streams. In the last 90 days, we've had over 1,500 streams. In the last 30 days, we've had just over 1,100 streams, and then in the last 7 days we've had over 800 streams. As you can see, a lot of the activity has been happening over the last few months, and there's a reason for that. I've actually been employing certain strategies to market my music, and I talk about that on this channel. So if you want that kind of content, if you're an artist, I assume that you're an artist if you're watching this, I would advise you to subscribe, because all I do is document what I'm doing myself as an artist. So this is some real stuff that I'm doing and I'm documenting. So when you come down, you'll see your daily streaming stats, which is the number of times your tracks were streamed in the last year. We have daily, we have weekly, and we have monthly. Those are the options for filtering. And then we have a graph down here. So we have the streams on the left hand side, and then the months, and you can actually zoom in like this if you want to get in deeper with the stats. If you want specific stats, you can literally zoom into the point where you can see each day how many stats, how many streams you got. So you can do that for the daily, and then when you come to weekly as well, you can do the same thing, zoom in, and then monthly as well, you can see how much data you have access to. Then when you scroll, you'll be able to see the streams by country, which are basically filtered by, or rather you have the options to look at it in terms of just the numbers or the percentages. So you can see my highest streaming country is Brazil, followed by the United States, followed by Kenya. Those are my top 3. And then on the right here, we have the streams map. So each country, of course, the darker the blue means the more the streams that you've got from that place, and Brazil is the darkest. So yeah, when you move down, you have different categories. We have the discovery sources, we have offline streams, and then we have listener device preferences. So for discovery sources, this is how listeners discovered your tracks. My biggest discovery source is others playlists, which is basically people discovering my music by listening to playlists of other people that have added my music to their playlists. And this speaks to the strategy that I've been pulling this year so far, which is playlist pitching. I've been really focused on playlist marketing, getting myself onto playlists that are active and have organic listeners. I've been burned a couple of times. It hasn't been like a deep burn, but I've been in a place where I have got streams, but they don't actually count on Spotify. In the back end, I can see them, like I can see I have 2,000 streams, but on my actual profile, it shows that I have half that figure. And we shall talk about that in a separate video, but it's basically because some of those streams are artificial, right? So some of these platforms are not very legit. Some platforms are more legit than others, and I cover all that in certain videos. I've done some videos about them, but I'm going to continue to document this because this is a strategy that's working, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. So the radio discovery source, this is basically algorithmic playlists. So these are playlists created by Spotify. The Spotify algorithm automatically. So this could be Release Radar or Discover Weekly, and this is based on the listener. So the algorithm creates for them a playlist based on their preferences. And to get this, I'm going to talk about this in a separate video, but you really have to put in the effort with the marketing, whether it's on social media or paid advertising or, playlist pitching, whatever it is. You need to have a strategy to get yourself enough traffic in order for the algorithm to pick up on you and see that people are actually interested. And then under collection, this is when someone actually gets your track and saves it to their playlist because they want to come back and listen to that song. Maybe they like the song that much. And then we have artist, which is basically someone just comes to your profile and listens to your music. And then album, if your song is in an album, then someone finds it there. That's the source. And these are my smallest, as you can see. And then offline streams, this is how often your tracks are streamed online versus saved for offline listening. So you can see a lot of my streams are coming from online listening versus offline. But I feel like the goal is definitely to have this number grow as well. People should save my music, or that's what I'm hoping to get my audience to feel like. They feel like, oh, this is something to have, for me to get back to or go back to whenever I feel a certain way. I really feel music is tied to emotions like that. And then listener device preference. Which devices are your tracks being streamed from? My biggest is other, and because I don't see a mobile platform here, I believe mobile phones falls in other, and you can see that 48.4% of my audience is streaming from other. And then we have tablet, which is 43%. This surprises me a bit. I'm like, okay, so a lot of people are actually streaming from the tablet. And then we have smart TV device at 8%. So that is really a rundown of what the statistics page looks like. Let's go and take a look at the other options in terms of platforms. We have Apple Music. We're just going to touch lightly on this because there's not much action going on there. As you can see, over the last year, we've had 33 streams on Apple Music, with only 2 happening in the last 7 days. I haven't really employed a strategy for promoting that, so I'm not surprised by these stats, but this is what it looks like basically. So almost the same layout. We have streams by track as well, and then we have streams by release as well, right? I don't really know the difference between these two, if I'm being honest with you. Streams by track and then streams by release. Yeah, I don't want even to try because I'll just be capping. I'll be lying. So that's what that looks like. Maybe you could do your own research. And then we have iTunes and Amazon. We have 0 units sold in the last year. And then we have greatest hits last 60 days. We haven't really had any sales. Our last sale was back in 2021, as you can see. And this is just, it's just dark here, man. Nothing going on. But this is really what it looks like for me. I'm focused on Spotify because that's where I'm putting all my efforts. But that's the video for you right now. I hope you found this helpful. I'll see you in the next one.